Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Andy, and I thought I'd do something a little bit different. Not like a normal video, but kind of like I guess my ideas and thoughts, and I guess a little bit of a guide of what I use when I play greenskins. I have two accounts currently in top 100. This one and wait, one at 80, right here, 81 and 30. I was a little higher on my main, but I stopped playing for like about a month on there because I was just playing on my secondary account. That's why it kind of decayed down like 20 ranks. It was like top 20, but whatever. So I guess my first thoughts on Greenskin, when they got the new Renown pack that came out, they basically jumped to like probably ahead of every other faction. Before they was able to beat them, like there was a little bit of counterplay with them, you know. A lot of factions were like 50-50, you know, like with Greenskin, Bretonnia, around there. But now it's like Greenskin just jumped up, propelled like really high, and now they even do better than Empire in the matchup in 1-on-1, and even against other factions too. So I guess I'll start off with Beastmen versus their easiest faction by far. In my opinion, it was probably Beastmen. I don't think Beastmen, they just don't have enough tools to deal with Greenskin in general. They just have all the counters and stuff. I take Warboss just because it's safer. Beastmen have two Gorbals almost all the time, 100%. So having your Lord flying is probably the best. So he just doesn't get tick damage. You can also do the Death build, the Death Squad with the Night Goblin Shaman, but it's probably best just take Warboss. You don't need any grounded heroes either, except for Night Goblin Shaman, because Goblin Big Bosses would also get destroyed by Gorbals. So just bring the Shaman, hide him in the back, infantry all the way to the back. Just enough where he gets the range that he can still cast his spells. I make up my line of 2 Biggins, 2 Blackworks, the Renown. You don't have to take these, but I just took them just for style points. Put these Renown in the middle, and then 2 big guns. You have this big gun behind your Blackworks, just in case they're going to get rammed by Minotaurs or something. So have them behind your main line, behind your Blackworks, and your Unbreakable Goblins. I have 3 Goblin Archers. This is probably excessive, but you can take 3 just to deal with the side wars. 2 Broken Tusk Mobs to deal with his Cav and his Minotaurs and all that jazz, and then 1 Squig Hurts just for the middle, right behind these guys, behind your Broken Egg, the 8 Goonies, just so they can do the extra damage. And basically all you have to do is just click forward, and then your lines will win automatically. Even if he spams Beastigores, doesn't matter. With the Shaman buffs, your Orc Biggins will still beat them. You have Goblin Archers to deal with Minotaurs, and most likely they'll take 2 Cygors, if not only 1. Your Goblins will just destroy them in no time. So just have your loin formation just up like that in front. Protect your archers with your big guns, 4 big guns, and then just have your infantry just win the line. And after that happens, you just chase. You just have like at least 2 or 3 big guns designated to chase off the routing units, and you have your Squigs chasing off, and you have the Apex Goonies chasing off, and you have like about 2. And after they're all routed, the thing is, you don't kill Gorbals. What you do is you kill them last. You kill their infantry, because Gorbals are almost impossible to kill for any faction, unless you're probably like Empire, who bring like 6 or Gunners or something like that. So you kill Gorbals last. Rout out of infantry, win the infantry engagement, win the cav engagement. Kill Gorbals last. Surround them. Just try to bog him down with Biggins. After a Biggin gets loose, you run him to the Gorbals and you just pile on him, while all of your other units are just routing everything. And once that's happened, the Gorbals are nothing because they don't do anything to infantry alone. They need help. So yeah, I think this is probably the easiest build to get away with, or just to destroy a Beastman with. I don't think any Beastman player or any Beastman army can actually beat this, even if they look at it. I've tried it like multiple times. You can even take off like the Goblin, just take 1 and bring Wolf Riders to chase instead. Or even 4 Wolf Riders just to chase off, you know, so they don't come back. while they're chasing off, you have your biggins just bogging down the Beastmen, Gorbals. So yeah, that should probably win pretty easily. It's heavily favored greenskin. It's probably like 80-20%. It's like 80 for greenskin, 20 for Beastmen. So pretty terrible. I guess my next one I'll do the matchup versus Dwarfs. So Dwarf is really tricky. You can't just bring a standard army. You have to bring like super designated army, but it's still really difficult. I think what you need here is just a lot of armor piercing and a lot of archers. You need archers because the Dwarf most likely will bring gyrocopters. If not, they'll bring 6 or 3. But I think if you go gyrocopters, you either go 6 or you don't go any gyrocopters. So I think this build's fine if you're going to play against Dwarf. You can even bring like this. So you have your Blackworks in the middle, you have your goblins in the right side, and then you have your apex units on the left side. You have your Squigherd behind this goblin, you have your Squigherd behind this goblin. So they come around the flanks. You have your archers just covering against gyrocopters, so your units won't take a lot of damage before the engagement starts. You have your orc warballs in the sky to help defend off the gyrocopters as well. And then you have Shaman. Remember, you don't need this buff since dwarfs don't have any Winds of Magic, so this reduces recharge power rate, I think. Pretty sure. Winds of Magic, which dwarf don't have any, so just take this one off. You don't need this almost any time because you already have super low cooldowns on your 2 main spells, which is Sneaky Stabbing and Itchy Nuisance. Look at that, 44 seconds. You don't need any cooldown on that and 24, so this is kind of just a waste of money. But yeah, you don't need any heroes here. Just take it like this. You need as much infantry as you can get, because even if you take heroes, they're not going to get in behind the backline of the dwarf. Because more than likely the dwarfs are going to box, and you can't get to his heroes unless you're flying. But yeah, I think this is okay. It's definitely 50-50 though matchup. But I think dwarves probably have a little bit favored just because they have a lot of gyros. But I don't know. I think it's kind of 50-50. Alright. But you can play around with it if you want. Take these off and play around with that. Even the archers. But you need at least 5 archers. 4 or 5 archers just to handle the gyros. Maybe 3. 3 to 5 archers. But you can play with that. Alright, I guess I'll do Chaos next. I just made it. Where's that? Okay. Versus Chaos, I haven't played this matchup much, but Greenskins is definitely heavy favor. This is what I call the Death Squad. It's your Goblin Big Bosses and your Night Goblin Shaman in the middle of them. One thing is, I guess difference from the Night Goblin to the Orc Bosses is the Night Goblin is a lot cheaper, but in stat wise, I guess in melee and combat wise, they kind of do the same. The only difference is Orc Boss is probably a little better fighting Cav, but he's also a little bit tankier. But I think just like in overall, since the Night Goblin has poison, if he can get into a melee with the Lord, if he's allowed to apply the poison attack, he gets as tanky as the Orc Boss. That makes sense, since Orc Boss doesn't have poison, but he has better stats. The Night Goblin has poison, which nerfs the opponent's stats, so it's kind of like iffy. But if you're still a beginner, like kind of new or not great with micro, I think Orc Boss is better because he's a lot safer. While it's the Night Goblin Shaman, you have to micro him a lot. You can't have him in any engagements really. You just have to have him in the backline using his 2 buffs. I take this off, bring 2 pots. I think you need full hardiness almost all the time, unless you have a Flying Lord. But yeah, most of the time I take both of them on the grounded lords. So you take a little bit extra Blackworks here just to fight their great weapons. The Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Biggins will do fine if they have support of the Squigs. So you have the Squigs behind these 2 Biggins. Okay, so Biggins, Blackworks in the middle, 2 Biggins on the right side, 2 Biggins on the left. Squig behind the Biggins, Squig behind the Biggins to help them fight against great swords. You have 1 archers to fight against giants. You have the 2 Orc Boy Biggins to fight against Cav. You have 2 Nasty Skulkers in case they bring Flying Lords. You have these behind these Squigs, so like there's a little ball of 3. and this one behind here. Just keep your shaman distance, just buffing, keep your lords supporting against flying lords. Wherever they land, come with your biggins. Yeah, I think this would be fine. Alright, now let's see. I guess VC. There it is. Alright, so versus VC, it's very heavily favored again with Greenskin. They don't have to do hardly anything to win. All they have to do is just point and click their front line, and they'll win. But one thing you have to do, I guess, as Greenskin, you have to try to protect your archers, protect your flanks, because you don't want to get flanked, because then you'll kind of rout really easy. So what I do, I bring the Death Squad again. This is fine. Always want the Death Squad if you're going to bring Shaman. You bring 3 Goblin Archers to deal with Cryptors and monsters in general. They kind of just destroy Cryptors without being unchecked. You have 2 Blackworks in the center. You have your Night Goblin in the center because they're unbreakable. If you can, you try to get the Blackworks to fight against, what are they called? The Karen Wraiths, because they're immune to terror. That's why you bring Blackworks. You have the 2 Boy Biggins to fight against Cab and stuff like that. But the thing is, if the opponent brings 2 Blood Knights, let's say, this is why I bring the 2 Goblins, so they can tank the charge from the Blood Knights. So you have them just circling around, protecting your rear, just chasing off the Blood Knights to keep the Blood Knights at bay. And if they do get engagement, you just try to cycle counter charge with your Orc Biggins. Just try to kill them off. Just protect your Goblins as long as you can. Once these Cryptors die, it's almost GG because they have nothing to deal with your Blackworks and just anything, your infantry in general, since Graveguard can't really kill Blackworks or the Biggins with the Shaman buffs. So I just try to keep the Blood Knights at bay with your Goblins. You could even switch them out for maybe the Goblin Wolf Riders, but I like the Goblins because they have a lot more models, so they can tank a lot longer, and it allows your Biggins to get in place for the counter charge. So yeah, just try to keep the Blood Knights away. You can even tank up Cryptor charges with these guys too. Your Blackworks will win automatically, so just throw them into battle, buff with your Shaman, shoot down the Cryptors, and shoot down the cards, and shoot down the Warriors Engines. Once that's done, it's kind of GG. You don't even have to kill the Lord. You just beat them like that. And if the Cryptors, they don't bring much Cryptors, you can also focus fire the Lords that are flying with your archers. Yeah, just try to keep your Biggins in the back line, supporting and helping your archers stay out of like obstruction and stuff like that. Just protect them with your Lords, and you should be good. Alright, I guess I'll do Bretonnia next. Alright, so this is pretty awkward game matchup, in my opinion. Like when I play Greenskin versus Bretonnia, it's kind of weird. So I've won a lot of times with this build. Right now, the current build for Bretonnia is full infantry, like full peasant spam. So they'll go like 6 spearmen, 6 bowmen, like 5 or 6 peasants, and just flying lords. So what counters a lot of infantry is artillery. So Goblin Rock Lobbers are just super powerful versus just heavy infantry builds. So what you do is you focus the archers first, maybe route like 2 or 3 before engagement starts, maybe 2. Then you hit a center of the line or towards the corner where you can brute force your way in, because that specific unit in the line would be kind of weak. Then you hit it really hard with your cav, and then you just route that part, and then it'll slowly start collapsing once that one breaks, because all the other infantry will notice, because their morale will drop once that one starts running away. You keep your skulkers in the back line, just to avoid whenever they land with the Kinguin or stuff like that. You can slow them, and then hopefully you can get your goblins in place with attack. But yeah, it's pretty weird matchup. I think, let me see if I can do, there's probably just another build too, just like this. You have this one in the flank, So you run in with your units. You have your nasty skulkers in the back just to support. Then you come in whenever you see the open. Because obviously the front line won't hold. It's the reserves that make the Bretonnian peasants is really powerful because they have so much reserves in stock. But what they have to do is when the reserves come into battle, they leave gaps in the back formation. So that's when you can bring in your goblin wolf riders, and then you eventually, I guess, just try to get to the archers and just chase them off. But yeah, it's pretty weird. I think it's definitely 50-50, but still a pretty hard matchup. I think, yeah, it's definitely 50-50 Bretonnian and Greenskin. Alright, now I'll go against Empire. I have two builds. Let's see. This one, I think I like this build. I actually take it a lot versus almost a lot of factions. It's basically called you just roll the front line, just ruffle stomp the front line, and I don't think there's any combo that can kind of defeat this. So you have anti-large infantry plus anti-infantry monsters with armor piercing. So they can fight cav, and they can fight elite cav, and they can fight elite infantry. So what you have them is in back, and they're in back of your Orc Boy Biggins, right? They're in back of them, and then you just charge in front. You have the Orc Biggins, the first charge, and your squigs will run through your Orc Biggins and do the second charge. These actually do better versus Greatswords and Blackworks if they're fighting. Like in test battles, these do actually better. This combo does better than versus elite infantry than just the Blackworks alone. They do cost 100 more, but they allow you to do a lot more diversity. So you can still fight cav, you can still fight infantry, and you can still chase off infantry since squigs are super fast. And you can even bog down lords since squigs are big, and you can't run away from squigs if you're a lord flying. And plus with the assistance of your knights, these skulkers, it's actually pretty solid. The only one thing that it's really bad versus is a ton of terror. Like Biggins, they're not like immune to terror, so they can rout pretty quickly. So you'll just have like squigs fighting alone, then they'll rout. So it's kind of risky if your opponent brings a lot of terror. I think versus just a death squad, it's fine. Or versus 2 terror units, it's okay. Because a lot of your lines will win. They can't be everywhere at once, you know what I mean? So if you can just have your lords supporting the back line, so that their terror units won't go everywhere, just have them there and your skulkers there. But yeah, I think it's pretty solid, kind of overpowered though. Here's another build I bring versus Empire though. It's more towards the terror build, like to counter terror builds. Where is it? I can just make it here. It's just with 3 Blackworks, or 2 Blackworks. The Knipex and Squig Herd. So you have the Knipex in the middle of your Blackworks. 2 Biggins in the right side, 1 in the left, 1 in the right. This Biggin behind this Biggin. This Biggin behind this Biggin. So behind. So it's gonna be 4. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4 units. 1 in back, 1 Biggin in back, Squig Herd in the middle, behind the Knipex. Because they obviously can't beat Greatswords, but with the assistance of Squig Herd, they can. You have Skulkers behind in the middle, towards like kind of the middle-ish, next to your Biggins and Blackworks, and this one next to your Biggins and Blackworks. Your Lords just in the middle, with the Cav supporting wherever the Lords land. Just run forward, just try to roll them. And I'm pretty sure if you can just win the front line, which you'll definitely win with the Shaman, then you just win automatically. Get to the archers and stuff like that. You can also take this guy off. Bring an extra Blackwork. Just have your 2 Orc Biggins in the right side and left side. This one the same position. This Biggins behind the Blackworks. And you bring 2 Wolf Riders to come try to chase off the backline. So when the reserves come into combat, you come in with your Wolf Riders. I guess you can bring an extra one. Yeah, so once the reserves break and the reserves come in, their box is broken, that means you can start coming in with your wolf riders. But yeah, I think this matchup's a little bit favored in greenskins, but still pretty decent. Pretty good. Well, probably the most popular matchup. Alright, well if y'all want another guide, I guess I can post one. I think my two best factions, probably my most games played also, is Empire and Greenskin. And I think my win percentage is like at least 90%. I don't think I've ever lost with Greenskin this patch, current patch, in like about 100 games. Maybe like twice, but in tournament games. But in quick battles, it's almost 100% win. If you play Greenskins right. Yeah, I guess I can probably do Empire next, or maybe VC. I play a lot of VC too. Britannia is kind of just like easy. Just pick whatever. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.